In 2019, we made about $11,000. 2020, we hit about a quarter million. 21, we were at about million. Every year, you were like adding a couple of millions dollars since then. We realized we need help and we need to have a mentor and we need to have a circle or community. So please be part of some circle, some communities, have some mentorship. It will help you a lot.
Welcome, Mayur. Thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure talking with you, and I'm really excited to learn about your story and your brand and how you got started. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what were you doing before jumping into this entrepreneurial journey and what inspired you to do this?
Sure, Kamal. Thanks for having me here. So, my journey to this Amazon FBA business was pretty unique. I come from corporate technology sector, so I've worked for big companies like Hewlett Packard and Fujitsu and Hitachi, and I was running big teams, running a business P&L of about $300 million before I, even learned about something called as an FBA. For me, Amazon was only that place where my wife spends money and I get to buy cool stuff. And one day, we were having this business review, and one of my interns was there, and he was very smiley and happy, and that was a bad year for us. We were having like millions of dollars in business losses and stuff, and this guy was smiling. I was like, during lunch, I was like, dude, you might get fired, Why are you so happy? And he said, hey, boss, I just made $1,000 this morning. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I know your PA, you're part of my PNL. I know your salary. You cannot make that much money. And that's when, he's a young kid, 21, 22 from college. He flashes his phone with Amazon Seller app on it. And he shows me that his revenue for that day was some $1,100. And at that point, I was like, I cannot believe that a kid so young can make so much money while sitting in meetings with us. So I went back home that night, shared it with my wife, and she was like, huh, okay, And then this thing died. Nobody cared. But during that phase, I think it was late 2018, my wife said, hey, we need to do something. Her job was too stressful. So she's a psychologist and she does forensic psychology back then. So all those CSI shows that you see on TV and you find that nerdy person that is doing the psychoprofiling, that's what my wife used to do. So she was working with all these criminals and, going to jails to interview them on her day-to-day life, and that was pretty stressful. People don't realize it. So it pays you well. We were making about $500,000 as a couple back then, but it
Wow.
was very stressful job. So she was like, hey, I want to get out of it. And I'm like, why don't you write a book? Like that's how most doctors make money. So she was thinking of that. And then we bought a Christmas gift for someone. And that gift was pathetic. It was a couple's card game. And we were embarrassed to see how bad it was packaged and poor English. It was literally like someone copy pasted stuff from Google onto a piece of cards and called it a game. And when my wife opened it, she was like, hey, you know what? I can make something better. And I was like, let's do it. And that's how our company started. It was just we bought a bad gift for someone. She didn't like it. She said, I can do it better. And I was like, let's do that. So instead of writing a book, she created a card game. And eventually we ended up being super successful on Amazon, sometimes beating cards against humanity on BSR ranks. And here we are 5 years later with millions of dollars in revenue.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. What a twist on turn of events, and
So
that's
true.
amazing. And you're right, those cards are so popular, and they've gotten better over the years. I think they were really bad ones back in the day. I may have bought your product. I didn't even know that was you. I'm looking at the Amazon listing right now, and I'm like, I think I bought this like earlier this year too.
Wow. I'm
Uh,
glad. I'm glad.
yeah,
And
yeah.
And again, when we started doing business, we faced a lot of challenges. I had no clue how Amazon works. My wife had no clue. And between the two of us, we would have spent almost a year trying to figure out how to launch it. So we started our company in February of 2019. That was like the new year resolution, we need to do something. And then she started the company, and we literally purchased the product, like placed order on our factories in October of that year. So it took us
Mm.
like so many months. And back in the day, I didn't even knew who to talk to. Like, the only person I knew was that intern on my team, who had left, by the way, by the time I decided to start the company. I think he was making more money from Amazon back then, and I had no clue how to get started. There were no gurus. There was like nobody on there. On the I can literally count. There were like five people on the internet and YouTube that were talking about Amazon FBA in like 2018 timeframe.
Yeah, yeah. Um, did you at the time, did you uh, like use YouTube to figure your journey out? Did you try to do any like market research on card games and
Yeah. So luckily, I come from the business background. So I was very well versed with market research and how things work, how business works before, Amazon FBA sellers realized that whole putting the stuff together. Because I think a lot of FBA sellers were not professional sellers. They were like someone who was selling books in a store who started selling on Amazon, or they were like bunch of, I don't know, teenagers trying to figure it out, or side hustlers, trying to figure it out. So when we walked in, my wife and I created a startup fund. Our startup fund had about $200,000 on it, and we were like very sure of we want to create something which is different. So it's like, imagine this: if Steve Jobs was doing market assessment of what kind of phone would sell well, we would have never seen iPhones, right?
Mm,
So we were kind of disruptors in that niche, in the dedicated deck card game niche. And I feel we are still the disruptors in that. So this year we have launched 15 new products. And Amazon has no one to benchmark those products. So Amazon benchmarks my product against my own set of products and give me, this is what your market looks like, this is what your similar product price looks like. So it's like, hey, I control the niche. Like, the best way to lead a niche is to create it. So we
nice.
created a kind of niche. When we launched these couple games, we were the third player on the market.
Mm,
Today we have more than 300 players in this market.
wow. Wow. I love what you just said though, because that's exactly what we preach to our students and to our audience, is that you need to create something new to stand out. There's so much competition in on Amazon, and if you don't create something new that's unique, you're not going to stand out. It's going to be very hard to compete with some of the big brands. Um, and one of our most successful students who we partner up with initially was we created cocktail cards.
Yep.
And that went on, there was nothing like that. There's cocktail recipe books, there was cocktail, websites, all of that, but there wasn't anything like cards where you can take it with you or play with your friends or hand it out to choose from. So cocktail cards went to do really well. So I love that you just said that. That's really important. Did you use any softwares to figure those things out? Like, are you using anything to figure out
Yes. So in 2018,
Amazon's?
uh, I'm like one of those people who bought Jungle Scout extension by paying one fees for lifetime. So
Mm,
I'm like very old dinosaur, I guess, when I say that. But yeah, we used Jungle Scout plugin, Chrome plugin back then. That was the thing to do. And then we got Helium 10. But again, as I said, most of the time we were not, we didn't had anything to validate. So what we did was we looked at it from a, my wife looked at it as a psychologist, that what are the few things where people spend money. And if you look at your house today or anyone's house today, you'll find people spend money on four things: either on their relationships, your the partners, kids, parents, stuff, or they spend money on good health, or they spend money on uh, being better than what they are, whether it is better clothes, better car, better TV. Like, it's just being better than what I have, right? And the fourth thing that people spend money on is giving away, charity, donations. So these are
Mm.
the four places where we all spend our money. And we were like, hey, let's go after relationships. And that's how we started creating couples games. And then we got into family games. Very recently, we launched games for new moms and new dads.
Mm.
Because when we had our first child, we realized, oh, there is so much of postpartum depression that comes into life. And there is like, when you are sleep deprived, you do not have the mental capability to read a book on parenting.
Mm.
But what if you had a single card that you can pull out, put on a mirror? It helps you stay calm. It helps you, uh, not get depressed and move on with that phase of life. So on Amazon, there are no products for postpartum depression on men, and
Mm.
that's our that's our key to success, and that is our challenge as well. Because we do not have 10,000 keywords to go after or rank after. We are literally educating the customer about a problem that exists, but they're not aware of it.
Mm. I love that. And your wife is using her experience and the science behind
Correct.
helping these issues in the card games, right?
Yes, and like as I mentioned, right, we were making good money. In fact, I quit my job only last year,
Mm.
and that was the most difficult part because in tech you get a lot of stock options and shares, and the only reason I left a job was not because I wanted to focus full time on this business or something else. It was just I want to spend more time with my son and my kids and wife, and
Mm.
doing FBA has allowed me to achieve it. Right.
Mm.
And honestly, the best decision of my life was marrying my wife. Of course, you cannot marry you know, anyone else. And I would say the second best decision was, we both taking up that challenge that, hey, we can create something better than that stupid game we bought in 2018. So,
I love it. I love it. So going back to mentioned that you bought Jungle Scout and Helium 10. So I noticed that you put here you paid 2,150. So is that for both or is that just the Jungle Scout?
it was, I would say it was a bunch of things. It was a combination of Jungle Scout and Helium 10. I bought annual subscriptions. So that's because I think it was Black Friday of 2018. So they were giving like some crazy discounts. So that's when I bought both of them. And I bought a subscription of bookkeeping software, QuickBooks,
Mm.
because I knew that one day this thing will become a bigger business and we would need books. At that point of time, we were thinking even we might get investors and stuff. So we
Mm.
wanted to do it right from day one instead of, putting stuff into a Google Sheet and figuring out how much money we made.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Nice. So I want to jump into making the product and manufacturing. But before we jump into that, tell me a little bit about the brand name and how did you come up with it?
So the brand name is Life Sutra. I I come from Indian origin. So me and my wife, we were born in India before we relocated here. So sutra is a Sanskrit term which means secret or SOP for for the business thinkers. So Life Sutra means secret to good life or an
Mm.
SOP to living a good life. Right. So
Uh,
that was the brand, and we wanted to empower people. Like when we started the company, our goal was how will we change the world, right? I come from Silicon Valley. So that's what I'm used to. We don't solve things for money here. We solve things to change the world, right? That's how Facebook and Twitter and Uber were born. Uh, so our goal was to touch a million couples, and if we can get rid of 100,000 less divorces, like if you can reduce divorces in couples,
wow.
you're not only saving that couple, you're saving their kids, the trauma that comes with, it's just not like just two people that get impacted, it's the kids and people around them that get impacted. So we wanted to uh, touch 1 million couples and touch 1 million families and improve their relationship so that they can live better with each other versus getting into divorce. And that's how it all started. And uh, from there, it was okay. How do we convert a book into, so my wife was writing a book. So instead of writing a book, let's gamify it. So that's
Mm.
how that's she's the chief product officer. She was the CEO like until last year when I quit. She was doing it all. And now I'm like, okay, let me, instead of being just a passive investor, let me, also start helping you now.
Oh, that's beautiful though. I love that life SOP or life secret to a
Yep.
good life. That's really noble, and I agree. Like any business that serves to serve humanity is going to do really well.
Yep.
Tell me about finding manufacturers and when you guys started
Oh,
developing the product.
I had no clue back then. Jungle Scout did not have that find supplier feature back then. So uh, I reached out to Cycle Brand out of US. They manufacture playing cards, and they said no. We do not work with small players unless you are, buying a truckload of stuff, and it was difficult. So
Mm.
while doing the research, I didn't even knew that manufacturing happens in China. I thought China was for clothes and plastic toys. So I came in contact with a very old American company. It's called Lawton Connect out of Florida, and they were the ones who started manufacturing our cards. In fact, during one of our travel visits, my wife and I used to travel a lot before kids. We were in Florida and we drove down to meet Lawton folks, and their CEO met us. And it was like 110-year-old company out of Florida making cards and scratch cards and stuff. So that's how we started manufacturing. And our first order was pretty small. We bought, I think, 500 units, and before I sold my first 100 units, I had already placed a second order for 1,000 units. And in 6 months, we realized that our volumes have grown so much that we need to start talking to Chinese manufacturers. And that's when my wife got into contact from different ventures. And then life is funny. My wife's family comes from Hong Kong. So she, like my mother-in-law can actually speak Cantonese. So,
Mm.
you know, who would have thought that that will help one day? So it helped us really well shifting our manufacturing from US to China. It dropped our COGS significantly. So when we started our first few purchase orders, our COGS were like almost $7-8 per unit, and we went from that down to like $3 a unit when we first started in China. And in a few years, once you have built relationship with China, your COGS will continue to drop. So always have multiple factories to work with, give them good competition, and we have brought our COGS down from $8 to under $1 now.
Wow, wow, that's amazing.
Same product.
Wow. So initially, you're here in Florida. Your landing cost was almost $8 or over $8 a
Yes.
unit. So I'm look. I wanted to focus on the startup
Hmm.
of the business. So and that's amazing, and that's very useful information of how to lower your COGS costs, because as a business, as you grow, you really want to focus on lowering your COGS so your profits can increase. But I want to focus a bit on the startup phase of the business.
Hmm.
So your first initial order was 500 units out of this manufacturer factory in Florida. After trying to connect with this other one who didn't want to do business with you because they're like, you're too small, we're not going to work with you.
Yeah. We
And
almost, I would say, we had approached 20 different manufacturers in the United States,
really,
and only one agreed to work with us.
wow, that's amazing. That's crazy. And so you took what you had at the moment. You didn't like,
Exactly. We didn't
you
have a
couldn't,
choice,
yeah.
right? And one thing that, if I was to talk back to myself 5 years ago, I would tell that do not disqualify any product because you feel that COGS are too high. The COGS will change based on your purchasing volume and how significant you are to a factory. I have seen some of my friends who are buying 75,000 units a month, and the factory will bend over backwards for them to do whatever they want. And we are a smaller player. We buy maybe 100,000 units in a year, and the factories will change the way they negotiate with you. They will change the way they will, treat you.
Mm.
So think of a business in a very simple fact. If you can buy something for $1, always sell it between $5 to $10. If you have to sell it under $5, do not go in that direction. If you can sell it for $10 and above, go in that direction. So keep a ratio of anywhere from 7x to 10x of your cogs.
Definitely, yeah. And we always say that like the golden ratio especially with Amazon, because there's other fees that get involved, is that we say like if you're gonna sell a product, don't sell anything that's less than $20. If you're gonna,
Yeah.
especially when cogs are gonna be $3, $4,
Right.
$5, you're not gonna make profits.
Yes, yes. And
So
that is specifically true for starting up. Like, if one advice anyone can take when they're starting and trying to figure out their first product, please go for a high ticket item. There is a very simple correlation between conversion rate of a $10 product and a $15 product, $20 product, $50 product. So your conversion rate is not dropping too much, but net profit dollars that will pump and fuel your business is coming from that margin.
mm,
Margin of, you may have a 40% margin for a $10 product, you're only making $4. Have 10% margin in a $50 product, you'll make $5. So
mm,
go with high ticket items, start small to test the market. And once you have tested your process and the market, then go big, then open the floodgates.
yes, I agree. That's really good advice. And going back to the manufacturer, so I noticed that you asked for samples, and it cost you $500 to
Yes.
test out the product.
Yes. So typically, when you will respect samples from China from a new factory, they will charge you money to either if it is a mold or if it is standard off the shelf sample, then they will charge you for the FedEx charges and all that. And as a smart person, what you should always do is negotiate upfront with the factory that whatever I'm paying you for sample, if I was to place an order, you will take off all that money and give that money as discount to me, which is fair, right? You will end up taking samples from 10 factories and place order on maybe one or two. So let the other eight factories make money and recover money with FedEx and whatever, but the two should pay you back because you're giving them business.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And always ask for samples. And
Yes.
even after working with one factory for 5 years, for every order that we place, we still get our products inspected.
Mm,
Because I do not know what is happening on the factory floor. Did they change someone? Did they fire someone in quality control? Did someone fell sick and was not there? I don't know what is happening during the time of production of my product, right? I might
mm,
have visited those factories. I know how their owners, but it is not the owners that matter. What matters is the person on the factory floor who is looking, manufacturing, and packing your product.
mm. That's a
And the
really
one
good advice.
person you should always take care of is the quality control guy.
Mm, that's a really good point. And it only costs what, less than $200 to do an
Less than
inspection?
$200 for inspection.
It's very worth it to save you all that headache and
And I have seen eight-figure businesses fail
mm,
because of that. Like there was a very interesting story. There was a person selling these paper bags. Their factory was out of Mexico. During COVID, they had to squeeze people because only so many people can go in a factory. So they squeezed out the QC control guy. This person was selling 300K a month on white paper bags on Amazon. Apparently, the next lot had too much glue and his pack of 10 were all stuck together. And now you have a paper bag which is stuck to each other. And when you separate it, it tears off. Immediately, he got a bunch of one-star reviews that killed his business. So people
mm,
can kill at eight-figure business because of QC. So
wow.
that is one thing you should not skip on.
Wow. Wow. Did you have any big issues with your first production run or
Never. Like we had the process first, right? The process comes first. So my goal is that this company should run without me and my wife. We should only be asked for, hey, can you please write a check and approve this expense? That is it. So process comes first, and the process says you need to do a QC test.
nice?
No QC test, no final payment, no final payment. The product will not go on board and will never come to Amazon.
Nice. So how did you design the packaging and your logo initially?
The first set of product, we basically went on Fiverr, and I remember we paid. So we went on Fiverr. I think Tanya, my wife, Dr. Tanya, she hired 10 different people to come up with designs. Back then, there was no PICFU or A/B testing, so basically, she and I we sat together. We liked 4 or 5 designs. Uh, and then we posted those designs on Facebook and asked our friends and families to advise which one they will buy, and through that we pick the best design. So we would have probably spent 20 $30 per design. So yeah, maybe $200 $300 to figure out the box design and all that stuff. And all the template stuff came from the factory, so we just gave that template to the designer and asked them to put design on that.
Mm. And you put here that the design cost you $7,000. What is that specifically for?
So that $7,000 actually consists of a lot of things. It consists of, we ran a big test to figure out the slogan of this company. So your life empowered, and which product should we launch first. So in doing those, we used a company called Squad Help, which we paid, I think, $2,000 to them to do that assessment market research for us and come up with some ideas. And then we paid a lot of money to buy Adobe Photoshop and InDesign to design the cards. So
Mm,
most of it is like software costs that
I
come
see.
in, and you pay like $100 a month for 1 year. Now you're looking at $1,200 $1,500 just like that for one piece of thing. So
Did you do the design yourself for the
the
cards?
initial set of design of the cards was, yes, it was done by Tanya, and literally there is one video on YouTube from maybe 14 years ago on how to use InDesign to create cards, because it is very difficult to have 200 papers with certain amount of text and then having the right font and design and all that. So it is very difficult to do it in PowerPoint or Word. So
Yeah, I can imagine. So when you got your product, did you hire a photographer for the Amazon
yes,
listing? You
yes.
did?
So we did photographers, and those were all the big startup costs that we did not knew exist, right? And now over the years, we have figured out the secret sauce. You launch a product, buy at least 1,000 units. Now you no longer need photographers because AI has come up. Thanks Gen AI, you can just throw something and it will create a beautiful 3D render. So none of our products are now photographed by any professional photographers. So we have saved $2,000 for that. But now everyone is looking for user generated content. So that $2,000 we saved on photographer, we now pay to join brands or Stack Influence to create UGC content
Mm,
and give them free products. They will then create UGC content. You then use it for Amazon posts or Instagram and TikTok and whatnot, and then try to drive all that traffic. So essentially, a single product launch, because our design process is free, my wife does it. The total expense is about $10,000 per reason,
mm.
which includes initial manufacturing and delivery, and all the social medias and giveaways, and all the
Did you
crazy
do
stuff.
that initially too, before the initial launch?
We had no clue. Like when I started, I used to spend $30 a day on PPC, and
I
that was
see.
my number one mistake. Like now my goal is to spend $5,000 a day on PPC because it's the legal way of printing money. If you do it right. That's what ROAS is, return on ad spend, for. What does it mean? You spend $1 on ads, you make $4 in revenue. If your profit margins are 25%, you created $1 in profit that goes in your pocket.
Yeah.
So you created $1 out of nothing.
Right, 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 right. If you
So
can spend $1 to get $2 back,
yeah,
will you be able to spend $10,000 or more?
$10 million. I want to spend $10 billion like that. Only if I can scale so much, right? So as much as Amazon allows, we want to scale our PPC.
Nice, nice. So I wanna get ready to talk about launching, but before that, you got your product design, you got your photos, you've designed the
UPC
package.
code,
Yeah.
GS1 UPC codes, and anyone who is trying new. So here are few hacks. Hack number one for GS1 code: buy it from GS1 UK. Apparently, for
Mm,
some reason, GS1 UK is super cheap as compared to GS1 US. And
okay.
these numbers are global in nature, so you can use it anywhere. Hack number two: get your trademark done ASAP. It will take you a couple of months from USPTO in the United States. So, what we did was we paid $10 a month to get a UK address, and then used that to get a trademark out of UK and we got in like a month or so, and then use that trademark to register our trademark in the US. But guess what? Amazon accepts UK trademarks. And now I hear that Germany, now there are full companies that give these services.
Yeah.
back in the day, we had to figure out which country is giving trademark in what amount of time. So UK, Germany will give you in a couple of weeks, and then
So
you start.
UK cost you $1,500 to get that trademark
So the trademark will cost you only $750,
in the
but
UK.
in the UK, but we trademark in different categories because back then we were not sure whether we will only sell, card games,
Mm,
board games, or few other things.
I
So
see.
for every category, you need a trademark, and every
I see.
trademark will have its own fees. Every category has its own fees.
I see. And I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but now Amazon does not have to wait for your trademark to be approved. So as long
Wow.
as so as long as you've applied for a trademark application, even here in the US,
Yeah,
they will accept your trademark.
that
So
is
you
wonderful.
just
In fact, one feedback I gave to some product managers at Amazon was that please hire some real sellers on your team as contractors, consultants, because Amazon does so many things which make sense in a boardroom, and to all those people who are not using that platform. So I'm very fixed in certain thoughts. So one of my belief is that if you are a car manufacturer, you should mandate it that all your employees can only come in your company's car. So if you work at Tesla, you should be fired if you come in a BMW. Because unless you drive a Tesla, you will not know that the solar wipers, these solar shades are too small, and you will have blaring sun in your eyes. As an owner, you're driving some Porsche, McLaren, something. You don't know what the hell is going
Mm,
on with the actual user of that car. So stay close to those. And if you are designing policies for FBA sellers, have some FBA sellers as consultants who will tell you how it impacts.
mm, good
Like
point.
today, Amazon has kind of mandated it: no PPC, no sales, no PPC, no game. So it is now a sham that you pay 15% as fees, sellers fees. That is a fixed fee. So between your FBA fulfillment and your seller fees, you can expect anywhere from 40 to 50% of your core of your selling price going towards Amazon if you are an under $50 product, right?
Yeah.
But can you be successful on Amazon without PPC ads today?
Yeah, you can. We launched two products this
Yeah,
year, and they're
with
doing extremely well without PPC.
and define extremely well.
Well,
Is it like,
we've made over $100,000, and it hasn't been a year yet. We launched the
oh
first
wow,
product in March,
wow.
and we've already crossed 100 and maybe $50,000, and it's not the
I
end of
would
the
love
year
to
yet.
learn more about it because I think it is also dependent on niche, like depending on which niche you're launching it, if it is something new, we have to spend a lot of dollars in telling people what this product is all about,
Yeah,
kind of making them aware of something new. And then now we went from a 3 product niche to like 400 product niche, 400 product niche, and we have no choice but to spend dollars to show ads and maintain our ranks on the the
yeah.
amount of the value for organic rank has depreciated a lot. Like I am rank 5 organically for many products, and literally on the web page, my product is product number 30 with organic rank
That's
5.
amazing.
It's everything else is ads, 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 like this ads, that ads. I'm like, guys, unless you are rank 1, you won't even come in the first row. So
Wow, wow. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, this is not a case for all. Like, there's a lot of most products require advertising, sponsored products,
yeah,
Also, if you want to scale, like advertising is necessary, depending also on the product. Also, some products require, to increase awareness, to educate the customers. So there's so much to marketing. I mean, it's a mountain of its own, there's so much that goes to it. Even around the holidays, how
yes.
you market your product around each holiday can make a difference.
Yes. And one thing I will tell anyone who is starting is the day you cross $100,000 revenue mark is the day when you should start thinking about hiring an employee. Hire
Mm,
a VA out of Philippines. They're very cost effective. I pay my best VA that is managing all the teams $800 a month, and rest of the folks are like $500, $600, $700 a month. And It's essentially buying time, right? So please, the day you cross 100K in revenue, or like you have enough profits, assuming you're not dependent on the profits to run your life, please hire someone. Do not quit your job unless you start making 100K in profits,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Net profits.
yeah.
Many people believe that they can quit. Like last year, we made over 500,000 net profits, and I was like, "Yeah, now I can quit my job." And this year, we have losses. I have over 250K in losses this year, and no one is
Wow.
working, neither me nor my wife. And we live in San Francisco. We have like mortgages and all those expenses. So I was lucky. I waited until my company reached 500K in net profits before quitting my job. So we have reserves to run it. But if you are just starting off with your business, and your business has created a amount of revenue, and you quit your job, it can be dangerous. It has not validated itself. So let your business create consistent profit for certain number of months, or at least 2 years, 18 months to 2 years, before you pull the plug on your job. Maybe go part-time, maybe change your job and take a less stress job, but do not completely quit your job and put all your eggs in one basket. And if you're
Yeah.
making profit, launch another brand, launch another company, another side hustle. Have
Yeah.
two, and then quit your job. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good advice. I mean, uh, a lot of people think about those things too, like as I'm growing, when is it a good time for me to quit or to focus on this 100%?
yeah.
So that's really good advice. By the way, did you start an LLC back in 2018?
Yes, so my wife created a single member LLC. She is 100% owner of it, and I work for my wife.
Beautiful.
The only thing we changed was after our revenue reached into millions of dollars. That's when we classified that LLC as an S corporation, because that gives us a lot of tax advantages and benefits. We run our payroll, and lot of avenues open up once you convert it to once you tax it as an S corp.
Sorry, my webcam just turns off every 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. And how did you apply for the LLC? Did you hire a lawyer to help you, or a service provider to
Mm,
help you with that?
I think we just did a Google search, and the cheapest one was doing it for $49. So we did that and got the cheapest. There is a registrar, something that is required to receive your mail, something. So we paid $30 a year for that and got that. The most amount of money we paid in legal fees was someone drafting contracts, NDAs, NNN contracts for our factories in China. So we had to hire someone out of Hong Kong who can draft legal documents in both English and Cantonese. Because
Mm,
if you just have a legal document in English, it won't stand good in a court in Shanghai. So it means nothing. It's just like
I
buying
see.
fake
Yeah,
insurance. So
right.
unless it is bilingual, it won't stand in any court in any
I see. That's a
dispute.
good advice.
So do not save money in those areas. So get a good attorney which can do bilingual things. And now they're like by the dozen, they're available now. And do always inspections for every production batch.
Mm, so I just want to clarify, because I want to get into the launch and the sales numbers for
Okay.
your first year. But I just want to clarify a couple of things. You put here for LLC cost about 2050.
Yeah.
Did this include those contracts you were talking about,
Yeah,
or
yeah. So the $2,000 were for the attorney, and $50 was for the formation of LLC.
so sorry, can you say that one more time?
Yeah, we spent about $2,000 with attorneys and drafting all those contracts, and $50 were for the formation of LLC. I think we used BizFile or InkFile, something like that, to create it.
Got it. Okay.
And
And
most states, you can make LLC on your own. It's simpler than setting up a Gmail account. So
yeah, no, it is very simple. Totally. And there are people there who provide services to do it for you. I mean, they
yeah,
charge you $200 to do it, but
yeah.
yeah, but you could do it yourself. I agree. And the last thing that you mentioned here that I want to clarify, you put there's another random cost. You put $5,000. So I just want to know, what was that for? Was there something unexpected, or?
Yeah, so that $5,000 was for all the equipment that we had to buy. So we bought special printers that can print samples for us. So when we were testing out
Mm.
designs, you need a bigger printer that takes that bigger sheet of paper in on which you can print the whole box and then cut that box and see it. So I would say
So R&D.
Eh, R&D costs. Yeah, you have to like literally purchase every product which was selling in our niche to figure out what others are selling, what are we competing against, how thick is that those cards, or what is the peel like. Like there are certain things you won't know unless you buy. So if you're starting something, identify your top 10 competitors and buy your top 10 competitor products. Like
Mm.
even today we have a thing every year we buy our top 10 competitors just to keep an tab on how is quality, what is it that they have changed over the years. And I now have one closet filled with only products from my competition to keep an eye out. And through them, I learned so many things like QR codes to offer free gifts and build out an email campaign. And you will learn a lot of things. You will learn a lot of things from your competition. So
Mm.
follow them and buy their products.
Totally. I agree. All right. So now for the exciting launch, how were you feeling at that point? Like you guys went through all
Oh,
of that
it
and
I remember it like yesterday. So our factory was in Florida, and back then we just shipped it from Florida using UPS labels to Amazon FBA. It was checked in within like 5 days. I was traveling for business, and was it was 12th November 2019. I was having dinner with a friend of mine while I was traveling, and I told him, he was, how you meet friends and they say, so what's new? I'm like, yeah, my wife started this company and she has made this game. And she's like, oh, let me check. And he opens his Amazon app and he buys it. Back then, I had no clue of what is, velocity and PPC. Like, we had no clue.
yeah.
So this product has checked in on, I think, November 11th. And on November 12th, this guy makes the first purchase.
Mm.
And I had no clue that there is something called as Q4, and Q4 has a lot of sales. And we were surprised that by end of Thanksgiving, we had sold enough units to place another order. And we were profitable in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I am so great, right? My ego and my wife's ego was like over here at the roof that we are so great. This is so easy. And I still remember my wife posting on that seller, those communication channel on Amazon
Yeah.
that, hey, it is January 5th and suddenly our sales has dropped a lot. What's wrong? And somebody said, dude, Q4 is over. So
Oh,
you are done with the ride. But luckily, our products were for couples, so we got a good ride in February of the following year as well for Valentine's. And by then, we had learned few things about PPC and velocity and whatnot. So yeah, we started investing in PPC and started scaling the company.
I see. Nice. Nice. And that was 2019, November of 2019.
November 12, 2019 was when the first product was sold. So entire 2019 had spent like we spent about $5,000-6,000 in purchasing the inventory, and our sales was about 11,000 some dollars, 11,500 or something. So you're super excited that hey, we wrote a check of 5,000 and we got like 11,000. And back then we were not doing all those P&L and stuff, right? That was the CPA's job to come back and tell me in January, hey, you lost money, you did not make anything, but you're fine. You're like, okay, that's okay. It's startup. Yeah, first few years was we were very lucky because we both had our own jobs. We were not dependent on this Amazon FBA business to provide us any income. And what we were doing is whatever profit we were getting, we were reinvesting it back into buying more inventory or running more ads. And while we have a roadmap of more than 50 products, we kept it to 5 products only in the first 4 5 years of business. We wanted to master it, refine it really well with 5 products before going into and opening the floodgates with dozens of other products, because you don't need 100 products to become a multi-million dollar seller. You only like my best selling product generates over $1.8 million a year, one
Mm,
SKU.
mm,
And with 4 5 SKUs, you can easily hit $10 million. You don't need 10,000 SKUs for that. Master it once you have, and mastering can take you 6 months, it can take you 1 year, it can take you 5 years. We had a dollar figure attached to everything, so that's why we waited for so long before launching more products. But once you have figured it out, then open the floodgates. Do not open the floodgates. Do not try to drink from a fire hose. You will drown. So it is nothing to be proud of that I'm drinking from the fire hose. It is not something you should be proud of. You're stupid that you're drinking from a fire hose. You should be drinking from a straw. So
um,
use fire hose to fill your pool with money. So
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a really good point. And I've heard so many sellers tell me the same thing. As soon as they try to create a new product or trying to expand their product line, that's when they realize they're doing a big mistake because they were moving away, steering away from what's working instead of like focusing on that and making it even better. They were steering away and trying to produce something else, and it affected their business.
oh yes. So we tried to expand outside of North America into Canada, UK, India, any country that speaks English. And in less than a year, we had to shut down certain international subsidiaries of our company because it is not profitable. Like success in Amazon US does not guarantee success in any other Amazon marketplace. They're very different beasts.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
the volumes are, so people don't realize it. Less people live in the country of Canada than in the state of California.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so there are only so many people that can buy.
yeah,
We
yeah.
imagine that, oh, I'm expanding into this country and I will get, on paper, you can imagine you will get 20% revenue or 40% revenue. In reality, it is like 2% revenue. And you realize, oh, I paid more money in GST and warehousing and logistics than I made in profits.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, the US market is the biggest market, especially when it comes to Amazon.
Unless you're doing, $10 million in US, do not think about expanding outside of North America.
Right, right. So do you want to tell me how much you guys made in 2020?
Yes. So in 2019, we made about $11,000. 2020, we hit about a quarter million. 21, we were at about million. And then 22 onwards, we were like 2 million. And every year, you were like adding a couple of millions dollars since then.
Well, that's amazing. Really, congratulations on all of that. I mean, I know you said you don't want to go through into the details, but do you want to kind of let us know how much you spent on PPC?
Yes.
Is that
So
okay? Okay.
I will tell you one secret.
Sure.
Amazon PPC, you can select lifetime value in the campaign manager, and it will start to give you data for everything that has ever happened in your life. And then, if you want to know exactly by the keyword, go to the targeting tab, select lifetime value, and start downloading 300 keywords at a time. Took me about 2 hours to download and realize we have run an ad for over 36,000 targets in the past 5 years.
Wow. Wow.
And in the life of the company, we have spent about $1.5 million on PPC.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah. And earlier years, we were not spending much, like in 2019, $11,000 revenue, $2,000 on PPC, 2020. I'm just pulling all the numbers up from my QuickBooks accounting software.
Sure.
That is the truth, right? Whatever is in the books on which we are paying taxes, that is where truth lies.
For sure.
So 2020, $40,000 on PPC spent resulted in a quarter million. So 1:5 ratio.
Mm.
Then $200,000 spent on Amazon PPC resulted in $1 million in revenue. So you see how the ratios will never change.
Yeah.
What is changing is how much are you willing to spend. And
Yes.
if only I would have figured out this trend earlier in my life, I would have spent more money. So then we went from 200,000 to $500,000 and almost $2 million in revenue, and then $700,000 and same ratios.
Amazing.
So
That's amazing. Well, congratulations on all that success. I mean, that's exciting to have seen that, and obviously this is a reflection of a good product that you have, that people see the need of it, and obviously there's more awareness now about mental health and relationships, and so it is a growing
I think
area.
we got lucky because of COVID. The entire planet realized the importance of mental health. Before COVID, no one used to talk about mental health or peace of mind. If you're talking about it, people would consider, oh, you are a very religious, spiritual person, thinking about all these things. There's nothing like that. After COVID was when people saw, like, I don't know anyone who has not lost someone to COVID. right?
Mm.
Everybody has lost someone they loved because of COVID. And that's when, the entire planet's thought process changed about life and about importance of relationships and mental peace. And that definitely helped us in our business.
Yeah.
Apparently, we did face a lot of challenges due to COVID because we don't realize it. Mask and card games are made out of the same raw material.
Mm.
And when COVID happened, the entire world was mandated on manufacturing masks. So there was no raw material left to manufacture card games. Like that comes down very low in the priority. So not just us,
Right.
but even as someone as big as Hasbro Gaming or Mattel Games, they all suffered because of COVID because
Right.
the
Right.
raw material were rediverted to make masks and protective gear and PPE equipment, which makes sense, right? That is
Yeah.
more important than playing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree 100%. So before we end this podcast, I like to ask this question. What were three biggest mistakes that you made that cost you money that we all can learn from?
So number one mistake was I did not have a mentor or FBA seller friends or circle or community until I saw losses this year. So uh, when you success is a very lousy teacher, it only feeds your ego, and it did feed my ego and my wife's ego that, oh, we are so good at running a multi-million dollar corporation with profit. uh, and it was only when we started to fail, we realized we need help and we need to have a mentor and we need to have a circle or community. So please be part of some circle, some communities, have some mentorship, whether one-on-one or group mentorship, but have it from day one. It will help you a lot.
Yeah, I'm curious though. Would you want to tell us what that mistake was and how much did it cost you?
It costed me over $2 million this year. So
Oh my God, that's a
it was a
lot.
mistake that when I paid a mentor, and like we paid $25,000 to this mentor for mentoring us for 6 months. What he could identify in 30 minutes of my first call was what I could not have identified with my so many years of experience in managing teams and P&Ls and billions of dollars of corporations. No,
Wow.
this guy knows Amazon FBA. He asked me three questions, and by question number four, we had identified the problem.
Mm,
Had I had this person in my life last year, I would not have lost $2 million in revenue this year.
wow. Wow.
So that is how important a mentor is. So do not try to save, 100, $500,000 that these people are charging. It may sound insane. It sounded me insane when I paid someone $1,500 an hour, but very well respected guy. He's in the community and a true gentleman. When I
Mm,
told him that, dude, I'm losing so much money, I cannot, pay for other sessions. He's like, dude, I will help you for free.
wow.
So
Wow.
have a mentor. That is first mistake. The second mistake is not investing enough in PPC and promotions. Now, when I say PPC, do not listen just Amazon PPC. PPC can be PPC on Amazon, it can be Google Ads, external traffic that you're driving, it can be influencer marketing through TikTok and other stuff. But I never took PPC seriously until last year.
Mm,
It was only, when I saw the trend that when you spend $500,000, you make $2 million. It's a 1 to 5 ratio. So, you need to invest more money and make a 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 return on it. So
mm,
invest in PPC, invest early on. The third mistake is not hiring employees.
mm,
So we waited many years before hiring our first employee when we could have easily afforded it, right? It was not that we were not dependent on business to fund an employee. We would have just taken money off our paychecks. But my wife wanted to do everything on her own, and I was being a good husband trying to support my wife. She is not a people's manager person. She's not that personality. So that stopped us from scaling. Like you can only be as good a graphic designer as Canva would allow you, or as good a writer as you can think. Now ChatGPT exists. Like back in the day, there was no ChatGPT or all those AI
true.
tools.
Yeah.
So you can be only so good in certain things. But when you have a team of experts, you get them on. And all my friends that are sellers, I tell them start with a graphic designer because graphic design takes a lot of your time. It is the least productive work, and you can either be creative or analytics. And if your business is successful, it means you're analytical.
Mm.
You cannot be a creative guy. A creative rich person always has a manager to manage the P&L. So if you bought your business single-handedly to a 6-7 figure, you're a very analytical person and you need to outsource creative work to someone.
Mm.
And we don't realize, like, I have a friend selling baby products, 3 products. She thought she doesn't need a creative person, right? We only have 5 images. Today, she's realizing that this creative person is doing all her images, all the A plus content, all the Amazon posts, all the Instagram posts. And for the first time in life, she's so happy that, oh, I have everything posted and scheduled for Instagram until the end of this year. I do not have to
Mm.
worry about Thanksgiving, Black Friday, or Christmas.
Amazing.
$400 a month for a creative designer who will
Yeah.
make things 1,000 times better than what you can do with Canvas. So
Yeah.
invest in hiring employees.
I love it. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. That was really good advice. And thank you for coming to the podcast and sharing your story and all the lessons and congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.
This was definitely an exciting story to listen to.
I'm glad I could help. Thank you for having me here.